Hi, I'm Jack Munro and I work at Iberdrola Australia. I studied Renewable Energy Engineering and Computer Science, and I was in the co-op program for Renewable Energy Engineering. Yeah, so I'm an analyst in the market modelling and policy team. So I'll just give some context on Iberdrola Australia firstly. So Iberdrola Australia is a developer and operator of renewable energy assets. They also retail clean energy to large customers in Australia. So we operate a portfolio of wind and solar assets as well as firming assets such as batteries and a couple of gas peaking plants. And we construct new wind, solar and offshore wind assets. So as part of that company, I work in the portfolio analytics and market modelling team. So our job is generally to manage the portfolio, perform data analysis on our customers, our assets, how they're performing. And the market modelling side of that, I work on long-term market modelling. So this involves using a range of tools and software, primarily Plexos, which is a software that's used a lot in the industry and across the world for market modelling, to model our long-term view of the Australian energy market. And this is used across the business for a wide range of applications, from business cases for new development assets, for assessing customer contracts, as well as for informing our view on long-term strategy and also policy work, how we inform our regulatory submissions. And the main function of this team in the long-term market modelling is producing a quarterly price forecast. And so that underpins the financial models that we make for new development assets and decides what direction the development side of the business will go. Yeah, I did. So I did a bit of a rotation across parts of the business. So I started out in the operations control center. After spending a bit of time with that team, there was actually an opportunity that came up when one of the 24/7 shift operators, there was a vacant role. So I ended up being trained as a shift operator and filling in for that role for a few months, doing night shifts and weekend shifts, monitoring our portfolio of assets and trading into the spot market. And then after that, I moved over to the policy and planning team, where I started working on long-term market modelling and regulatory affairs. Yeah, so I definitely didn't. I knew that in engineering, and especially in renewable energy engineering, two of kind of the main career pathways were more technical roles, working with wind and solar farms, and also consulting, which is more informing views around the future energy market, analytical work. But I didn't really know anything about the energy market, and so that was probably the thing that was most interesting about starting work at Iberdrola Australia, was learning all about the energy market. And yeah, so all of the roles in the energy market I really wasn't aware of before starting here. But I found that in general the energy market was the part of the renewable energy industry that I'm most interested in. I think it's a really interesting area to be working in, especially as I care about decarbonisation and the transition to renewable energy. I think the Australian energy market is leading the world in a lot of ways in terms of the decarbonisation and renewable energy percentages. I think my biggest career highlight has been working with the people that I get to work with at Iberdrola Australia, particularly people like Joel Gilmore, who's our regulatory affairs manager, and Tim Nelson, who's our head of energy markets, who are really interesting and passionate, smart people in the energy industry. And they're some of the people who are at the forefront of pushing for the renewable energy transition in terms of talking to policymakers, but also these people who, aside from their role at Iberdrola Australia, are also academics at universities who are doing some really interesting research into the challenges facing the energy sector and the transition, and really informing the kind of direction of the energy transition in Australia. Yeah, so I think one piece of advice I would say is to focus on what you're passionate about and what you're interested in, and also that it doesn't matter if you don't know what you want to do when you're starting university. I think university is most useful for figuring that out, and as you go through your uni you'll be able to see what you're interested in. Lots of people change their degrees halfway through. Try to take as many opportunities as you can at university to figure out what you're interested in, and don't worry if you don't have clear career path, because even throughout your uni degree and even once you start working, you'll get a better sense of that. As long as you keep trying to follow what you're interested in and do things where you're still learning as much as you can, then you'll be heading in the right direction.